Hi, this video is called What's the Use? Well, I'll tell you why I labeled it like that today, because I was at the hospital yesterday for a couple hours on an appointment that I didn't ask for, and I didn't feel like I needed it, but I didn't ask any questions. I just went. Why fight it? I say, give me something to do. Anyways, I sat for about 2 hours in a pretty busy waiting room, the optical waiting room at the hospital, which is a very busy place. And I talked with sick guys, mostly guys, but sick guys that were old, and I mean, most of them are older. And I was flabbergasted at how quick they were to disagree with me about things. Like, one of the things that in my optical experience there at the hospital was I got a set of glasses which worked fine, and then in about a year they didn't feel good at all anymore. So I mentioned it to the hospital, and they gave me an appointment and gave me another eye test, and they had to cut my prescription strength down in a lot, like maybe half. I mean, that's the kind of way I look at it, because I just noticed the difference between the two glasses. But my eyes had gotten so much better in such a short time, and the doctor said, your glaucoma is dissolving. And I said, yeah, I'm sure it is. And he was like, kind of surprised. He's like, what do you mean? Yeah, what did you do? Why is this happening? Why are you getting this much better so fast? I said, I changed a lot of stuff in my life. And he went and pulled up a chair and sat down and talked to me. I mean, this doctor just pulled up a chair and said, okay, what are you doing? And I am really impressed with the idea that he wanted to talk about this stuff. So I told him about autophagy. And he said, he's going to have to look that up because he doesn't know anything about it. And I said, well, it's part of the reason why the glaucoma is going away, I think. I says, I can't really know that because I don't know how to test for that stuff other than my eyes are better. And the blood vessels in my eyeballs are getting attention because I feed them, the blood vessels, certain things, and everything that has to do with blood circulation and especially fine vein health, and it appears to be working. Even my dry eye, which seems to respond to vitamin A really well, but my eyes used to be so dry that they would be stinging something awful by the afternoon. They'd be just really painful. When I was driving, I'd almost have to pull off the road to take care of my eyes, wash my eyes someplace, or just pour water in them, or they were awful. Well, they don't do that anymore. See, they're not bloodshot really, and they're not dry, and they're not degrading. My eyes aren't degrading. Well, anyhow, I had people at this waiting room that were telling me that wasn't what was doing it. I said, no, that is what's doing it. Unless you pray a lot, because I do. So that works too, and that goes along with everything. That's the stuff that helps me guide me to the right medicines, I think, or the right supplements. They're not medicines, they're supplements. And I hit the jackpot with my eyeballs, I think. Actually, I'm good all over. But even my hair's hanging together. I got hair in my top of my head. And this one guy was sitting beside me, and he said, "Oh yeah, how old are you?" And this guy, his hands are shaking. He's got and he's complaining about everything in the waiting room. The chairs aren't good enough. That he's been there for 20 minutes already. I'm sitting there 2 hours, and I'm like having fun talking to everybody. And I have a different way of looking at stuff, I guess. But anyways, he said to me, I said, "Yeah, I was over Vietnam too." I says, I was there in January of '65. And he looked at me, he said, "Well, how old are you?" I said, "I'm 76. And he said, "You're 76? And his wife said, "He's 70. And he's 70. And he's arguing with me about what I'm doing to keep me well." He said, "It's too much trouble. He won't give up sugar because he likes sugar." I said, "Well, don't you like feeling good?" "Sugar makes me feel good." I go, "Well, okay, I guess that's a choice that you get to make." But I think no sugar is a treat. So by the time we were done, he didn't want to talk to me anymore because I rejected every idea that he had about anything. but anyway, his wife and I talked a little bit, and anyhow, they wanted to reset my appointment for another week, and I didn't have a negative response to that at all. I mean, what's the point? Why fire up your cortisol? Why ruin your space? Why make somebody else uncomfortable too? And so I was talking to the nurse, and she was actually smiling at me. She was like, so I think she was really grateful that I wasn't angry at her. So anyhow, I kind of feel like my appointment is an odd appointment. I kind of feel like that they want to know why my eyes are changing in such a positive direction so quickly from a few years ago. And I'm going to tell them. And what's the use part is that if they happen to change a little something, things will start getting better for a lot of people really quick. And I'm not attacking anybody. It's just that I might think that the medical profession, as smart as they are, they're treating symptoms. Like they wanted to, when they treated this one department, when they wanted to treat my eyeballs for being dry, for having dry eyes, no tears and stuff, they just give me eye drops that made them wet right now. Well, that isn't so good. What happens if I don't have eye drops? I got dry eyes. So, but if I add, for me, I add a couple vitamins, and my eyes have changed their attitude. I got tear ducts working, and I think that's the use. What's the use? Trying to make things better. What's the use? Make things go away that seem to be incurable, like diabetes, type 2 diabetes. I backed out of type 2 diabetes in 4 months after I realized that I had it and had to know what to do about it. So there's so much to do, you know, and I don't do any of this to lose weight. It's just that losing weight comes along with not eating wrong. You know, I might eat 8 pounds of beef in a week. Somebody else will go, oh, you can't do that. I might eat a pound of vegetables in a week. Not any more than that, but I might eat a few. And that's different than other white people. But I don't eat any sugar. I don't add any sugar to anything, and I make sure the things I buy aren't processed with a ton of sugar in them. You know, a gram or something is one thing, but low carb is critical, and my body is just changing. I'm actually growing muscle back. You know, I instead of wasting at 76 years old, I'm growing healthier. That's the use. You know, when people say, "Oh, what's the use?" You know, I don't want to give up cake because it tastes good. I gave up cake to save my feet, which is, if you look at diabetes and going down the road, your feet give up and they end up cutting them off maybe because you know they won't heal and stuff if they get hurt. And the other thing is, you know, your kidneys fail. And what's the use? Well, I gave up sugar to save my kidneys. I gave up sugar to make my brain work better. And I don't know if you can tell, but you can see in different videos of mine that sometimes I can't talk. So anyways, I'm getting better in a lot of areas. My brain is starting to work. I was so bad with like Alzheimer's kind of things. I didn't ever get diagnosed with any of them, but I was so bad that I would shuffle into my kitchen and then I'd find myself standing there wondering whose kitchen I was in. I was lost in my own apartment. And that kind of stuff is pretty darn scary. Well, that was 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago. I'm better now. I quit driving a few years ago because I didn't feel right driving because I would confuse myself going around a corner. It would I said, oh, I gotta quit. So now I rent cars sometimes, and then friends lend me cars, and I drive all over the place, and I'm thinking, I better get another car because I'm driving just fine. And so plaque and reversing things like that, or increasing the minerals that get past the blood-brain barrier, is making big changes for me. So I'm just glad you're all here, and I'm just talking away. So my shot at a long video. So thanks a lot. Keep coming back. What's the use? Get better.